Luke 11. Readiness. We returned to the condo at dusk. After parking a car in the car park, I and Tall helped each other carry bags from the convenience store. I was about to reach out to pick up a small bag, which was the last one on the back seat, but Tall suddenly grabbed it from my hand. I tried to ignore his strange behavior at this moment. He will tell me soon. Bitin, Tall called me. I turned around to look at him after locking the car. What? Well, Tall looked hesitant for a while as if wanting to say something but would not say it. I have something for you. It's time to find out. I smiled slightly. The one you bought recently? Yes. Tall reached into the plastic bag and walked toward me. My heart pounded, waiting for Tall to give me the thing he bought. There weren't so many items in 7-Eleven that I couldn't guess. Looking at the size of the bag, it shouldn't be anything big. It should be candy or maybe a box of chocolate. A couple normally likes to buy things like this for each other. Or are they some small items wrapped in a cute patterned box? I really want to know it badly. Saul held my hands and placed some objects on my palm. It's a small rectangular object, not much weight. It's a box made of paper that is like a candy box that holds several gummies in many colors. I ate a lot when I was young, but what's inside is definitely not something for kids. The idea that Tall will give me something cute and clear disappears in the blink of an eye. Ah! I screamed in shock as the box fell to the ground. Tall turned around and rushed away. I immediately picked up the box and looked left and right, afraid that someone would see. No, wait, Tall. What does this mean? Let's talk upstairs. Tall shouted back and walked into the lobby. Meaning you will. I held up the box, realizing that doing this would be too obscene. I immediately put it back in my bag. Where are you going in such a hurry? You can't get in without me. It has to scan my fingerprints. Dal was stunned and turned to look at me for a moment and quickly looked another way. I walked close to him. I made him turn to look at me and pushed him until his back was against the wall. I raised my hand and placed it next to his head, blocking him from walking away. By this for me. What does this mean? I looked at him with a serious look on my face. Tal didn't look at me. He looked so shy that he almost exploded. I think I'm ready. Oh, how cute could he be? No need to hurry. Tal's eyes flickered back to look at me like he was a little dissatisfied. If we don't want it, we don't have to. I want. I think I answered too quickly. Every time we are together, this thing always comes up in my head, but I wait until you're okay. I'm okay now, said Tal. Want to know how it feels? Don't you think it's too soon? I asked skeptically. I slept with my girlfriend since the first day we were dating. Tal replied boldly. This is pretty late. Okay, that's it. Maybe I was too old fashioned. It took a year for me and my ex to get to that stage, so it made me think that this kind of thing has to wait for a while. I think I have to adjust myself. Tall is a nimble person. He didn't seem embarrassed about these things either. If it's embarrassing, but it's good in another way as well. In my head, I started counting the ages. Paul is now in year 4, and I graduated from medical school 6 years ago. Aging is too ugly. Well, I leaned forward and whispered in his ear, Let's go upstairs. After trying to stop the temptation to hug and kiss him all the way to their room, I have now reached my goal. As soon as the door room closed, I dropped my backpack on the floor with a loud thud. I quickly placed the 7-Eleven bag on the counter and turned to grab Tall's waist and pulled it closer to me. Tall looked up at me and took a deep breath. His beautiful eyes stared at my face. making me feel like I was being pulled by his attractive appearance. I bent down to kiss his lips. It's weird as well. The person in my arms is actually a man, both physically and mentally. But I didn't feel disgusted at all. Love makes me overlook everything. It made Hall become the most beautiful person for me. I was going to make him truly mine. Paul resisted in the beginning as an instinct, but after a while he became weak. I unbuttoned Tall's student shirts one by one and took them off the shoulder so that I could kiss the white nape of his neck and his shoulder. Tall raised his hand to push me, but not too hard. He was probably fighting himself over whether to push me away or let me continue. Bitin, Tall called out to me in the sweetest voice I had ever heard. Yes. My hands became mischievous. I pulled the hem of Doll's shirt out of his pants and gently caressed his back with my hand, then slid down until I reached the inside of his belt loop of the pants. My other hand I used to lift his head up to kiss me again. Doll was a little trembling. His both hands, that seemed out of place at first, began to slide onto my buckle. Unbuckle it. I want you to take off my pants. I feel so sexy. My masculinity is being awakened by touching human skin that I haven't felt for a long time. Thud. Meow. The sound of something falling on the ground, followed by the sound of a demon cat, caused me and Doll to stop. Zebra was sitting at the dining table. He uses his floppy tail to sweep the plastic water bottle down on the floor as if deliberately. This freaking cat, I growled. Tal lowered his head and hurled me back away from me, pulling his shirt to cover both shoulders. I'll go take a shower, said Tal. Okay. I feel disappointed at that feeling just now. It's getting hot. Can I take a shower too? Tal glanced at me, his white face turned into a rosy hue. Sure. I turned to look at the cat with a triumphant eyes. You can sweep how many items to the floor. Doll and I are going to continue in the bathroom. Goodbye, Zebra. And then what I was supposed to be doing on my wedding day happened tonight. If you ask how it went, the best description is that it was a bit struggling. Neither of us had been through a man before, causing a periodic arguing noise from the bathroom to the bed. But when everything was settled, the love story continued smoothly. Doll looks 10 million times cuter. He looked cherished and looked like he can't control himself. His soft voice that came out of his lips drives me crazy. Unlike when he would normally look like a man with a tough and dashing personality. It is probably only me who had the opportunity to see his aspects, and it will be me who sees him like this forever. I tried to be gentle with Doll in every move so that he wouldn't have to suffer so much pain that he felt scared and didn't dare to do this to me next time. Next time, let's switch roles, Doll said as he lay on my right arm. We went back and put on our clothes. Doll's bangs were still wet with sweat from the previous activity. Will you be okay? This just makes you suffocate. He giggled. Doll furrowed his brows, but didn't say anything. Guess he didn't know what to argue. I raised my hand and patted his head. When you're able to manage your heart disease, then we can talk about it. It's not that bad, Doll murmured. It is. There have been reports of people having heart attacks while having sex. My hand rubbed into Doll's hair. Are you still hurt now? There's nothing to be hurt of. Where did you get your confidence from? Tall answered, smiling wickedly. You'd better take a knife and stab me than say this. I showed a pained expression. It's a bit tiring and strange. Tall moved his hand to rub his back. I'll have to bring a pillow to support it so that it's not tense. I listened intently to collect useful information for the next time. Tomorrow after work, I'll go buy more pillows. If I made you hurt, I'm sorry. I grinned. My face must have been brighter than the ceiling lights now. But I'm so freaking happy. It's good to be happy. Doll gave me a serious look. But this may be your last happiness, because after this, it will be my turn to make you hurt till you can't work. You took my virginity, so now I'll take yours. You're this evil and still call yourself innocent? I used my right hand to pull his cheek until it stretched. Doll shouted, thinking of hurting me? You can only dream, little one. After I turned off the light, I went back to sleep in the same position beside him. I reached out my arm and pulled Doll to lean on my shoulder. Doll moved me closer and put his hand on my left chest. I turned to look at Doll, who had closed his eyes as if he had fallen asleep. I smiled relaxingly and closed my eyes. The breath was getting slower according to the feeling of peace. The weight of Doll's palm made my mind still. This act of Doll showed his concern for me. Seeing me stabbed to death in the face left a lasting wound in his heart. If he doesn't check if I'm still breathing, he can't fall asleep. This is what he told me last night. Isn't he the cutest in the world? My boyfriend. You can call me for an infatuation with my boyfriend. Because it really is. Our relationship between the two of us has taken another step forward. I don't want to think physically is the main thing that holds the two of us together. But since it is one of the components that make Doll happy and is what he wants, I'd be happy to do it without refusing. Dr. Tin, said a voice on the other end of the line in the deepest tone I'd ever heard. Dr. Tin, if you like men, why don't you tell me? I can't make up my mind. If you can joke around, it means that you can make up your mind. No need to tease me. I replied to my dad in a cheerful tone. Actually, I also feel guilty that I might upset my parents about this. I became the only child of my parents as soon as my sister died. Their only hope had become like this. If I were them, it would be difficult to accept. I'm really sorry. Please apologize to mom as well. I don't blame you, but your mom, she is. I heard my dad sigh. When Pang called and told her about you and Nongtal to your mom, she came to me madly and crying. I told her to call you to talk, but she refused. Ah, I raised my hand to wipe my nose and looked at the clock on the wall of the room. It is now 7:30, and my dream that I would wake up late because I have my shift in the afternoon was ruined because of the call from Dr. Toll. Nong Tol was still sleeping in bed. He had class again at noon. I planned to take Tol to get something to eat before dropping him off at the university. Today would have been a happy day if I hadn't heard of my mom first. What should I do, Dad? Should I call her first? You should, but I think you should wait until your mom comes down first, maybe in the evening. I'm on duty, I groaned. Dad, please talk to mom. I'll help you, but still, I think you should talk to her yourself as well. Fighting, my son. Thank you so much. Okay, not guarantee the result. Dad will hang up first. Dr. Tin, take care of yourself. Say hi to my daughter-in-law as well. Then he hung up. I looked at the screen with a puzzled expression on my face and turned to look at his father's daughter-in-law, who was still asleep. Doll usually wakes up easily, but probably because of the exhaustion from last night. It's not right to be a daughter in law because he isn't a woman. Calling him son in law should be alright. But the thing I was worried about is not whether Tol is a son in law or a daughter in law, but it's about my mother. As a teacher, of course, my mom was an organized and strict person. The thing she hates most in the world is inaccuracies, and she's the one who thinks homosexuality is very inaccurate. There was one time I was in high school. My mom once looked at a gay couple who walked past us and said to me, "You need to find a good woman, then get married." At that time, I didn't think much and didn't even think I would become something that my mother was afraid of. I don't think Tol needs to be aware of this. Just knowing that his parents can accept is enough. As for my mom, I'll be the one to take care of it. I don't want him to feel any more uncomfortable. No, you haven't touched the patient's pulse yet, and you jumped up to do the CPR already. I held my temples up as the medical students jumped up to do the CPR on the dummy with a shocked expression. Today I've been assigned to supervise the examination of the fifth year students in the primary life support base. My duty is to give the problem and watch, then score them according to the checklist, whether you followed the steps or not. If they did they do it correctly or not? If not, then they have to fail in that particular list. If they forgot to do something that can cause the patient to die faster, such as not pumping after the patient's cardiac arrest, it's okay according to the problem. This patient's heart really stopped beating. It's not wrong to pump up immediately after the patient calls unconscious for normal people. But as we are healthcare professionals, we should have a pulse assessment first. So I gave 0 on the topic of palpation. In other parts, you did very well when combining the scores. It should pass with no problem. When the exam was over, I walked out in front of the exam room while stretching. Then I heard the deep voice of Dr. Singh. I turned to look at Singh, who was standing with his arms crossed and was surrounded by 4 or 5 younger medical students who stood pale. I stood curiously to see what was going on. If you are graduated and this is what you can do, the patient will die in your hands. Go read the book. You passed because it was just a simulated patient. You just do the right thing according to the checklist, but you have no sense at all. If it's an actual patient, they all die. Okay, that's it for today. You can go now. I blinked my eyes at the soon to be medical teacher Singh, who looked more irritated than usual. I felt pity for them for being Singh's emotional field. I walked to Singh after the students left. Why did you scold them? No one has made any mistake that they have to be tested again. They skipped steps and switched back and forth as if they weren't prepared. You. I couldn't help but raise my voice at Singh. I don't know what you have been through, but remember when we were medical students? The knowledge we encounter today that we get used to was new to us back then. Who would have been conscious and followed the steps 100%? If you can't make up your mind, how can you be a teacher that kids love? Singh shook his shoulders like he didn't care. He walked past me like I was either. I looked at my friend angrily and picked up my phone to check my messages. Nong Kung sent some photos to me half an hour ago. I pressed the scroll button to open it. The picture that she sent was a screenshot on her phone. It was a line chat between Gap and Kung. Gap sent a message to Kung with a message. I would like to exchange every shift that collides with piecing. I turned to look at the back of Singh, who had already walked away. There must be something going on between Singh and Gap. The cause would not be anything but the lady that both of them were fighting for. Singh's behavior was really bad. I understand the feeling of Gap as I have been in that position before. I think I will have to help Gap. End of Loop 11. Readiness.